Now this question came in and it says, I miss the guy I like so bad. He's sweet to me. I think I'm in love with him, but I'm 14 and he's 18. What should I do? I can only imagine how stressful and frustrating this must be, especially considering that you guys are only 4 years apart. The unfortunate thing is because he is of the age of an adult and you are still a minor and you're still under the age of consent, if you do anything with him sexually, it could get him in a lot of trouble. That is, if the state you're in does not recognize the Romeo and Juliet law. I'm going to read a short passage from the law offices of Ned Barnett, and it says how Romeo and Juliet laws can be applied to statutory rape cases. A statutory rape conviction can result in years in prison since it's considered to be like any other rape case where the perpetrator, or in this case, the guy that you like, did not have consent to have sex with the victim. However, in cases when the victim is a minor, the state considers the minor unable to give consent. The minor would be you in this case. These cases and the laws that surround them can be particularly complex, especially in situations that involve two minors. If you're facing charges for one of these offenses, a sex crimes lawyer can help you understand these complicated legal issues. Romeo and Juliet laws provide an exception to situations involving a sexual relationship between two young people that can be considered a sex crime. These laws allow for a person to successfully defend themselves from being convicted of statutory rape if their age and that of their partner falls within the acceptable age difference. If it's 4 years, it has to be 4 years exactly. It can't be 4 years and then some. On the screen here is a list of states that recognize the Romeo and Juliet law. Now, the year difference that's acceptable also depends on the state. Even though Texas is on the list, their acceptable age difference for the Romeo and Juliet law to be in effect is 3 years. So, for example, in this case, if you guys are stationed in Texas, your boyfriend can get in a lot of trouble because your age difference is over 3 years. If you both really love each other, then you have to come to an agreement to wait with each other until you are of the age of consent. That's honestly the easiest way and the surefire way to avoid any trouble, because even though the Romeo and Juliet laws come into play, if somebody suspects or they find out that you guys are having intercourse, he can still be caught in a lot of trouble. Now, it may not go in his record permanently, but he's always going to be looked at as that guy and it could destroy his life. Now, hear me out. On this channel, I try to be as real as possible to anyone that asks any questions, and I don't pass any judgment on anyone. Now, there's nothing wrong with you two being in love. Unfortunately, the law states that if an 18-year-old is going to be dating a 4-year-old, the 18-year-old might risk going to prison. This is the hard decision. If you really love him, then especially knowing that the temptation might be too high for the both of you, you'll let him go. The good news is, depending on what state you're in, if you are stationed in the US, there are many states where the age of consent is 16 years old. So you would only have 2 years to wait. When you're in love and you really feel for that person, it feels like a very long time. But it is doable. I've been in long distance relationships for 2 years. I've been in long distance relationships for a year and a half before I did anything with that person, and it worked out. Now, that's easier if you're in a long distance relationship. If you're in a relationship or you like someone who is in your immediate vicinity, it can be harder. The only other way you can get around this is if you guys get married, and people under 14 years of age cannot get married, but you are 14. If you're 14 or 15, you can't get a marriage license without a court order. With that being said, even though there are ways for you guys to be together legally, you're still very, very young. And I know that you don't like hearing that, but it's true. This person that you're in love with may not be the person that you're meant to stay with forever, even though it feels like this. And trust me, I know there have been a lot of guys where I've fallen in love with and are like, this is the guy I want to marry and spend the rest of my life with. And 2 years later, I find out that he's an asshole that cheats on people. So you still have to learn to get to know each other. But during this time, if you really do care about him and you don't want his life to be destroyed, just to make it easier on the both of you, especially him, even with the Romeo-Juliet law considered, the easiest thing to do, honestly, if you know the temptation is going to be too great, sexually that is to just call it off. In 2 years, when you are legal and you know he won't get in any trouble, then you guys can try again. And if you guys really care about each other, when you come back to each other, you will be fine. During that time, he may find somebody else that he likes, and you may find somebody else that you like. You may not even stay with those people. You may come back to each other in the end. Now, again, I'm going to say this. You guys can still be friends, but if you love each other and you're very attracted to each other, the temptation is there. And trust me, it is very easy to fall into it. And if you do fall into it, nothing will happen to you. But if he gets caught or somebody squeals on him, or if your parents find out that he's had sexual intercourse with you or any sexual dealings with you, or if he's even a suspect that he's doing that, his entire life can be destroyed forever. So you don't want to put him at that risk. So the best thing to do if you love him is to just let him go, explain to him what the situation is, that you care about him, and this isn't the best thing for both of you right now. Then in 2 years, when you're 16, hit each other up. Another thing I wanted to add in is that there are some cases where even girls as young as 10 years old were married. But I believe those cases were under specific conditions, like they were pregnant. Usually those are the grounds upon which a very young minor can be married to someone older. Even if you guys are planning to get married and that's something both of you talked about and you're very sure about, because I don't want to say that you don't know what you're feeling. If you know what you're feeling and he also knows what he's feeling, then wait till it's legal, because you don't want to deal with any of your lives being destroyed over this. His life will be destroyed because, it's wrong for him based on the law, and your life will be destroyed because you will forever feel like you destroyed his life. So that's the advice. You don't have to take it, but another thing is if you're planning on getting married to get out of it, just think about it. That's all I say. Just think about it, because there are times when you are with someone and you don't know them long enough. I don't know how long you guys known each other. If you've known each other from childhood, then that's a different story. But if you just met this person like a year ago, you may not want to necessarily marry this person in the end. And you may, but then just wait. And if your parents are involved and they know about you guys and you guys are really, really sure about this, then you can talk to your parents. And if you're a minor, depending on what state you're in, the parents can be present to make that happen. Otherwise, if the temptation is so great that you absolutely can't stay away from each other, and this is going to be very controversial what I'm going to say, but make sure that you hide very, very well, because if you don't and somebody finds out, then it can just create a lot of trouble for you. Be very cautious and tame with each other and very discreet. That means if you want to gush about what you do to all your friends and everyone else, that's nobody else's business but yours. That is until you're of the age where it's absolutely in the clear and no question that any of you are engaging in anything questionable. I know it's annoying and it's sad, and I've been there too. Especially when you consider that the person that you like is just 4 years or 3 years older than you, but just because they're of a certain age, they can't be with you. I know that's annoying, but the laws are the laws, and unfortunately, people's lives have been destroyed from little intricacies like that. Anyways, if you have any other questions, just ask.